Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, if you're like me and you've been following all the coronavirus stuff for months, there's a lot of important stories out there as far as the hospital numbers, horrible stories about people getting sick. But a big part of me, and I know this probably isn't a good thing, but it has been looking at what's college football looking like in the fall. Football is a huge part of my life. I love football, and I've been looking forward to it all year. I mean, it's my one sport that I watch all year. I'm not that big into basketball. Baseball, it's kind of boring unless you're at the game, but football is my jam. So, I saw this coming, but on Saturday, the Power 5 began meeting. I believe the Big Ten had a meeting this weekend to figure out, are we going to cancel or postpone the season? And the Pac-12 is set to meet during this week to talk about the same thing. And right now it's looking like the season is for sure going to get postponed. Probably to the spring. And there's a chance that it could be canceled all right together, all together. We could not have a season at all. And right now, none of the conferences want to be the first one to call it quits. They don't want to be the first ones to shut it down. But they also don't want to be the last. You don't want to be the last guy out there when everyone else has said that we're shutting down. That's just a bad look. And so right now I've heard that the conferences are really trying to get together and figure out how they can announce it all at once. At first I thought it was going to be just, one conference would decide and then the other conference would go, and it would kind of have this domino thing, but it seems like they're going to do it all at once. And again, the hope is we don't just have an outright cancellation, because that's certainly possible. But it's more likely they're going to move it to the spring. But that has other problems, because the NFL draft says they're not moving anything. And so there will be an NFL draft. And the question is, if you're a top player like Dexter Lawrence or some of these top college players, are you going to get ready for the NFL draft, or are you going to play ball? And so there's a lot of problems with spring football, but right now that's where things are heading. And honestly, that's a good thing for some of these athletes. Trying to play in a pandemic in general never made a whole lot of sense to me. For a lot of these universities, so much of their money comes from fans in the stands buying beers like this nice tasty Corona, which I'm going to keep drinking Coronas because, again, people are blaming the coronavirus on Corona beer itself. So trying to support them as much as I can. But people are, for most universities, their college football programs exist because they're selling tickets, because people are going to see the game in person. I mean, there's a couple universities out there and a couple conferences that can survive on TV money, but the majority of them, they need folks there. And unless you can fill up a football stadium, the programs themselves are losing money. And so it never made sense from a financial perspective that they were going to keep playing. Now, Dexter Lawrence, who's the quarterback of Clemson, recently has led this charge on Twitter, saying that we want to play. And a lot of college football players have responded to this, saying that they want the option to play out the season. And, that's the thing. I think everyone can agree is that we want to play. I want to watch them play, but it just doesn't make sense right now. And I've been a lifelong fan of college football. I've been watching this for years and years. College football is one of my favorite things. I look forward to it all year. And I've learned more about how college football actually works in the last couple months than I ever really wanted to, or ever thought I would. And one of the big things is, we were all looking at the athletic directors and trying to figure out what they're going to do, or the conference commissioners. But in a lot of ways, those people don't matter. I mean, in regular football sense, of course, they make a lot of the decisions. They fire the coaches. They're leading the sports programs of the universities. But at the end of the day, during this situation, it's all about the presidents. It's all about the presidents of the universities and getting them to sign off on college football. And essentially what they would have to say is that unless they're going to, they have to keep up this idea of student athletes. And they, for a lot of these universities, they're not going to have all the students on campus anyway. And so they would have to admit that, okay, these football players or, other players in sports are athletes first and students second. And college presidents were never going to sign off on that. You got to understand that a lot of these folks, they want to be Ivy League presidents. I kind of thought it was interesting this past year that, USC, which is my favorite football team, we lost our president to an Ivy League school. And I thought that USC was like the top, if you want to be a president, like USC is the place to be. But a lot of these folks, they're academics. They're not sports people. They want to go to that Ivy League. And the Ivy League shut down months ago. And so you have to try to convince some of these folks who really do kind of care more about the athletics of their university that, hey, we need to change everything so we can play football in the fall. And that was just never going to happen. The idea that the players were going to somehow convince the presidents that, hey, let us play, it just doesn't make sense. And a lot of players, they're very vocal about wanting to play. I saw a recent poll out there that the vast majority of college players want to keep playing. But the thing is, if I did a poll and I said, hey, let's stop following the speed limit, I'd probably get like a 95% approval there on, hey, let's just get rid of all the speed limit laws. But that doesn't mean it's a good idea. So yeah, this just wasn't going to happen, no matter how much anyone wants football. And trust me, I'm definitely going to be missing out on on college football this year. So for a lot of folks, this might not seem like that important of a story, and I totally understand. There's a way more important things to pay attention to right now. But I think this is a big, it's hard to overstate how big this moment actually is. For a lot of folks, they didn't actually take the coronavirus seriously until the NBA shut down. And even the sports leagues themselves, they were kind of pushing the can down the road there. The NBA, they came up with plans. Okay, what are we going to do if a fan is sick and this and that? But once one of the players themselves actually got sick, they just shut the whole thing down immediately. And that's when people really started to stop and take the coronavirus seriously. So the importance of college football shutting down, it's a huge thing for a lot of people. I personally have a friend here in town who said that he could put up with a lot of things with the coronavirus. He could lose a lot of things to the coronavirus. But the one thing he couldn't lose was college football. Might seem a bit of an overstatement to you, but there are people out there that really care about the game that much. It's their thing to do every Saturday, is to sit back and watch college football. And so the idea that that's going to be taken away from them, it's a pretty big shock to a lot of people, whether you like football or not. But what do you guys think? How is this affecting you? Were you looking forward to college football this fall? Did you do you think they're making the right move here? Me personally, I think they should have made this move months ago. I think they should have stopped the training. They should have stopped, because there's some students at universities now, and a lot of teams have been shut down because of positive tests. And they should have, if this was about the health and safety of student athletes, they would have shut it down months ago. And that's what they should have done. But I don't know. Let me know what you think.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for watching Citizen Pete. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, click that little subscribe button, maybe the like button, and hey, maybe just leave a comment. I want to know what you're thinking. What do you think about all the politics, the news, and all the stuff that's going on in our country?